All right, fans of music, welcome back. It's Dave, the Real Music Observer, observing real music in real time for real people just like you, right there, or over there, probably over there, and me. Okay, enough of an intro there, right? Dennis DeYoung on his Facebook page decided to link us over to this great interview he did with this publication called Classic Rock Revisited. Kind of reminds me of Creedence Clearwater Revisited, except the new version of CCR isn't, all that good. It's interesting. Those guys, they wanted to make some money. They did. Two original guys in the group, so, who needs John Fogerty, right? All right, that's another video. Of course you need John Fogerty. I don't want to get hate mail, although I get it every day. It's great. So Dennis, he is so in alignment with some of the things I've been talking about here. There's a part of this interview where he just gets all indignant because he can't get his music on the radio. And he's talking about his album from 10, 11 years ago. It was called, 100 Years From Now, or 8 years ago. Came out a while back, and I was telling people about that recently on my Facebook page, how amazing the album was, should have been. Didn't get any radio airplay here in the United States because it wasn't released in the United States. Ouch. Here's an iconic singer who has this great catalog. And then another reference point in this, Dennis talks about this live album with the orchestra he did in 2003, 2004, in that time period. And I had to go back and listen to that. I already know about the thing he did in LA with, the newer band that he got together. But this orchestral album that he did is just completely off the charts. So he's making the point, he's working with Jim Peterik right now on a new record. Jim, it sounds like, twisted his arm, said, hey, you can't sit idly by, you're just too good for this. And Dennis, after prodding and after, Jim begging and pleading, they started working together, and Dennis talks about how they're both baby boomers, how they both kind of understand one another. They're both from Chicago, which is interesting, and this was a match made in rock and roll heaven, I think. This is going to be some good material. Dennis says he'll take credit for it if it's good. If we don't like it, then it's all Jim Peterik's fault. So, again, he's just being funny. He's just being witty and sarcastic like he always is. But the point of this interview that I loved is Dennis talking about how there's no place for music anymore that is good. There's no place for it. There's no radio that's going to play a new song by Dennis DeYoung. They're just going to laugh. They're going to say, no, this guy's from, the 80s or the 70s or whatever. And this is where I get a little irritated with the Eddie Trunks of the world. And Eddie, I'm sorry, I'm just focusing on you, but you've said some real weird and wacky stuff. And not only that, you're the corporate guy who works for the iHeartMedia, who works for the satellite channel, who works for all of these corporate entities. And I'm being generic here. I'm not saying he works for everybody, but there's this corporate mindset and this focus-tested craziness that somebody, say, my age, a little bit younger, a little bit older, we just need to be kept in this little box. If you want to hear Hotblooded again by Foreigner, we're going to play it for you. But if Foreigner comes out with new music, screw it. It might get onto an adult contemporary station for a week or two, but it's not going to get any serious airplay. And Dennis is making this point. His album that he did 10 years ago, he thinks is a work of art. And nobody played it. Nobody seems to care about it. Even when I posted it on my own Facebook page, people were like, what's this? This was an album that was released primarily overseas, where it probably did really well. I mean, these guys get a hero's welcome when Foreigner, for this live thing that they did with their orchestral arrangements and so forth, they went overseas and recorded this, and you would think that Elvis showed up alive and well. You know, I mean, there's just a different vibe over there. Over here, we've got the Cash Me Outside girl. That's what we've got over here in America right now. We've got, you know, Jason Aldean, or we've got whoever else that we can make into a pop idol, and then we can, you know, tweak their voice with voice correction software. And then, you know, Ed Sheeran, who I don't hate, has been on the charts for this entire year because there's nothing going on. It's like, here's a song that we're just going to keep beating into the ground, beating into the ground, beating, because there's no variety, there's no creativity. Back in the 80s, you had everything on the charts, people. Every kind of music still existed, especially like the late 70s, early 80s period. I mean, you had new wave, you had punk, you had West Coast, you had soft rock, you had singer-songwriter. I mean, and all of that. You had country artists like Dolly Parton that were sneaking in there, and Eddie Rabbitt and stuff like that. Now it's just, here is what you're supposed to listen to. And Dennis DeYoung, absolutely 150% correct about his contention that, yeah, he can record an album for Frontiers, and I can promote Frontiers as a record label. Eddie Trunk basically promotes like LA Guns when they come out with an album on Frontiers. Woohoo! Yeah, how about some new music by a classic artist who we all loved? How about a format that actually plays the new stuff mixed with the old stuff and then calls it a format? That's what we used to do. It was called Top 40. It was called mainstream rock back in those days. Now, it's like every little cubbyhole has its little group of followers, and that's it. And a guy like Dennis DeYoung can't catch a cab, can't catch a cold, can't get the time of day. It's pathetic, and Dennis is right. All right, that's my video. I'm done. I'll be back with more cutting-edge analysis soon, so stay tuned.